boy was bored in class, blowing on his pen and playing. At this point the history teacher asked, "Do you know what this school did 100 years ago?" No one answered the question. Suddenly the boy raised his hand.
They used to hang people here.
Hearing these words, the whole class was terrified. The teacher was also surprised. "Where did you hear that?" The boy continued to describe the details of the execution, but the teacher obviously did not believe it. He said that this used to be a courthouse. He looked at him like he was a monster. The boy couldn't take it anymore.
You're a stuttering Stanley!
The teacher was stunned. His secret. How did the boy know that? He took one step towards the boy. The boy's eyes closed.
Stuttering Stanley! Stuttering Stanley!
The teacher finally couldn't take it anymore. The boy wasn't actually lying. The reason he knew this place was once a torture chamber, because he saw with his own eyes those who were sentenced to death. That's right. He's a rare psychic. These dead people always come to him, not only at school, but also at home. Sometimes they would suddenly appear in the kitchen, crying and showing their cut arms. Sometimes they would line up in the hallway and invite the boy to play games with them, and they don't even seem to know that they were dead. The boy had been tormented by this life for a long time. He was so scared that he could only make a tent with red cloth. Whenever the peep came to him, he would hide in the tent, turn on the flashlight to light up the idols inside, to spend the long dark night. This secret boy could not talk to anyone, and for this reason he was regarded as a freak by everyone. In the face of hostile stares, he could only fight back with anger, but as a result, he was even more isolated. That day at a classmate's party, the boy was ostracized again. Unhappy, he hid in a corner, staring at the ceiling in boredom. Then, a red balloon flew up. He walked upstairs curiously. Suddenly he heard someone in the attic say, I
swear my life on the master's orders. Open this door, I'll break through it and grab you.
The boy was terrified, for this was not the first time he had heard a ghost arguing. At that moment, the children downstairs found him, and they sneaked up. They pretended to play a game with the boy, but when he wasn't expecting them, they pushed him into the dark room. The boy shouted inside like a madman. Mother noticed that something was wrong. She rushed up to him, but the door was locked. It wouldn't open. The boy was screaming from the inside. Finally, no more sound. By the time his mother carried him out, he had already passed out. This man is a famous psychology professor. In recognition of his achievements, the mayor presented him with a special plaque. He and his wife were about to celebrate this wonderful evening, but just at that moment, they encountered a thug who broke into their house. The man calmed his wife, while reminding her to call the police, who suddenly became agitated. He cried and said he was his patient. The doctor's fear turned to shock, but couldn't remember for a while.
Don't you know me, hero? I waited 10 years for you! Vincent Gray.
The doctor finally remembered this patient from 10 years ago. I never thought he would become like this today. The doctor tried to calm the gangster down, but the outlaw's emotions were out of control.
You failed me. You failed me!
The doctor was speechless. He wanted to ask the gangster, give himself another chance to remedy the situation, but the desperate gangster had already taken out a gun. The patient who could not be redeemed. The doctor was in deep remorse. A year later, he met a young boy by chance. This boy was almost identical to the dead patient. He was almost identical to the dead patient. The same parents were divorced. He also suffered from a mood disorder. He was also a freak in the eyes of others. And what's even more bizarre is that the boy's photos from childhood. There was a strange glow on all the pictures of the boy. The doctor approached the boy, trying to save him, even if it is to make up for the dead patient. The first time, the doctor followed the boy to the church. The boy was alone, playing with the soldiers. That's when the man noticed scratch marks on his hands, but the boy wouldn't talk much about it, turned around and left. The second time the doctor came to the boy's home, the boy was coming home from school. To reassure his mother, he tried to behave like a normal child, but as soon as his mother left, he was back to his sad self again. All this was seen by the doctor. He tried to talk to the boy, but the boy clearly didn't trust him. He retreated step by step, until he retreated to the door.
What am I thinking now?
I don't know what you're thinking now.
You're nice. You can't help me.
After saying that, the boy walked away disappointed, but the doctor didn't give up. The third time he took the boy to school himself. The boy confessed to him, in the eyes of others, he was a hopeless freak, but the doctor told him,
Don't you believe anybody that tries to convince you of that? That's bullshit.
Hearing this, the boy looked at him in surprise. Gradually his guard was down. Finally one night, he opened his heart fan to the doctor.
I see dead people.
How often do you see them?
All the time.
This was the boy's deepest secret, but the doctor didn't believe him. He thought the boy was suffering from severe delusions of grandeur, and that it was beyond his power to cure. The next day he showed the boy his hand. I'm going to refer you to another doctor. The boy burst into tears.
Dr. Crow, you believe my secret, right?
I don't know how to answer that call.
How can you help me if you don't believe me?
back at the clinic the doctor and went back to the year. The recording of the conversation with the dead patient, but this time, he found some different sounds. When he turned up the volume, he could hear Piu's voice in the background. Piu's voice appeared. I suddenly understood that the dead patient and the boy were telling the truth. They weren't crazy, they were just seeing things that no one else could see. He found the boy again. Tell him I know how to help you now. Those Piao looking for you. I don't think they want to hurt you. They want you to listen. The boy was half convinced. Sure enough, that night, Puffy appeared again. The boy was so scared that he ran away from the road. But this time he remembered the doctor's words. Even though he was scared to death, he still walked over to him, slowly pulled down the red cloth. This time the victim was a girl. The next day, the doctor took the boy to the girl's funeral. The girl was said to have died of cancer, but the boy knew the truth was something else. When no one was looking, they sneaked into the girl's room. A hand suddenly sticks out from under the bed. The boy was terrified. The girl was a puff. She pushed out a wooden box. The boy followed her last wish. The wooden box was given to the girl's father. The father opened the box. Inside was a videotape. He looked at it intensely. He thought it was just his daughter's hobby before she died. But then the camera suddenly changed. A woman brings lunch to a sick girl, and she sneaks in poison when she's not looking. The man was in a state of shock. His own daughter was poisoned by her stepmother.
You were keeping her sick.
Outside the door, the boy gave a toy to the girl's sister. Tell her, your sister will always watch over you. From then on, the boy was no longer afraid of Piao. Instead, he was eager to help them. He even became good friends with them. His relationship with his teachers and classmates. He also became much more cordial. And in the school play, he played the role of King Arthur with the sword and the stone. Looking at the happy boy on stage, the doctor smiled with pride. He realized that his mission was complete. He said goodbye to the boy. The boy asked him, will we see each other again? The doctor replied, I'll see you tomorrow. The doctor finally fulfilled his wish. Satisfied, he returned home. All this time, he focused all his energy on the boy, and his wife gradually distanced. Even on his wedding anniversary, his wife was also unusually cold to him. He wanted to explain properly, but she never gave him the chance. Instead, she locked up their old bedroom. Now the man is finally over it. He can now make up for his past regrets. But when he returns home, his wife was asleep on the couch. As usual, she was asleep on the couch. The television was showing a video of their wedding, but his wife looked very sad. In her dream, she said to herself,
Why did you leave me?
I didn't leave you.
She rolled over. A ring fell down. It was the man's wedding ring. What happened? Wasn't the ring in her hand? At that moment, a terrible suspicion came to the man's mind.
They don't know they're dead. They only see what they want to see.
Men finally remembered that night. It turns out that after he was shot, he had died on the spot. He was always just a spirit. Only a boy with the gift of psychic can see himself. No wonder his wife didn't care. It's because she couldn't see it at all, and the door that couldn't be opened had been sealed long ago. His wife did not forget him. She spent their wedding anniversary alone. She drank her husband's favorite wine by herself. Only now did he realize his wife had always loved him. The end of the story. The man says goodbye to his wife, and this time the wife seems to finally hear.
Good night, sweetheart.
The Sixth Sense is a classic film from '99. It looks like a suspenseful thriller. In fact, it is full of family love. The doctor seems to be saving the boy, but this is not the process of reconciliation between him and himself. As for the boy, did he know from the beginning that the doctor was Piao? Then we need to find the answer in the original film.